This is the 5th episode in the Keepsake Box build. Today we're going to be looking at the base of the box, and as you can see in this image, we've built the dovetail box, we've built the lid, but it still needs a base. So, what type of base am I going to build? I considered using hardwood and jointing it and connecting it together into a panel. That was an option, but I decided to practice my veneering technique, which I haven't done a great deal of. So that's what I'm going to do in this episode. Now, because I only have scraps, I'm going to have to joint two pieces of veneer together to produce enough to cover this sheet of 3mm ply. And the first step I've done is to clamp the veneer between two pieces of wood with only a small amount protruding. I'm then going to plane the veneer to produce a joint that can be taped together. I'm testing with a ruler to ensure that I have a nice straight edge that will connect properly. Now, I don't have any veneering tape, but I do have some electrical tape, so I'm going to use that in this case just to hold the pieces together prior to gluing. Now I'm just going to use a PVA glue to attach the veneer to the ply. I know there are specialist glues you can use, but as I say, I'm not experienced with veneering and I'm just experimenting. And with the glue on both sides, I cover it with some greaseproof paper or wax paper and then place some chipboard on either side, which I can then clamp, and then this hopefully will compress the veneer, which does have some ripples in it, and allow it to dry with a smooth finish. And here I'm adding a lot of clamps to try and get an even pressure over the whole of the area being veneered. And now it's come out of the clamp, hopefully you'll be able to see that the centre that's covering the ply is nice and smooth, but the sections that are outside of the ply, where there's nothing supporting the veneer, it's retained its rippled original appearance. I considered putting this on the bandsaw and cutting the veneer off, but in the end I decided just to use a knife. And with a quick plane of the edges, the veneered panel is now ready to be used as the base of the box. Now the dovetail sections of the box prepared earlier need to be routed with a groove to accept the base of the box, and I've been trying to come up with ideas of how I can do that. I'm going to use a new router I've purchased, but I'm not going to use a router table. This is experiments in how I can cut the groove and hold the timber in place. Like I say, I've not tried this before, so it is a bit of an experiment. And I'm really happy with the way that's turned out. It's done exactly what I needed it to do, but this isn't going to work for the larger pieces. I'm going to have to make a similar platform to hold the larger pieces because they're not going to fit on this board I've already used. Now this part is slightly tricky because the boards are a slightly different width to accommodate the lid, and I'm taking my measurement from the opposite side of the board. I can't rely on the previous setting for the router to produce the groove in the same place. So what I'm doing is marking up where the groove needs to be and then setting the router to that depth. Now I'm going to sand the inside of the box prior to gluing up. So what I'm doing is transferring some marks onto the outside of the box, which I won't sand. That way I'll know which orientation to put the box together in. And here I'm sanding with, I think it's probably 120 or 150 grit, and moving through to 220. I'm sanding with the grain and I'm doing it all by hand. I know that sounds like a lot of work, but in reality it doesn't take very long at all. I'm ensuring the box is square by using this 90-degree block. I'm then going to take some measurements with pinch sticks to the inside of the grooves, and then I'm going to transfer the information from those pinch sticks into the base to mark out the size of the base I need. There are other ways of doing this, but for me this method works quite well. a quick cut on the bandsaw and a smooth off with the plane, and hopefully the base of the box should fit. And with the base in, I can check the box is connected together properly and check that there are no gaps and it's gone together square. And if that's the case, then when it's glued up, we should have a nice square box. And like the inside of the box, sanding and preparing the base of the box at this stage is going to be much easier than waiting for it to be installed. And here I'm treating the surface with some oil. I think this is an orange based oil, judging by the smell of it. It's very pleasant compared to many of the other surface finishes you get. And then this is the test for the veneer. If putting this oil on causes bubbles to form, then the gluing process hasn't worked properly. Fortunately, it looks like it's glued down well in this case, and I'm not seeing any areas where there's bubbles showing. I'm using a fairly small amount of glue on each joint and clamping the box together. Now I've tested this repeatedly to make sure it's square through the build process. I might have done that more than normal because I have built a box recently that ended up not being square, and I'm fairly sure that was due to the clamping process. So here I'm going to keep testing, make sure it's square as I'm adding the clamps. Now I'm going to leave that to dry, and in the next episode I'll be taking this off and we'll be attaching the lid and finishing the project. Please like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, please put them in the chat.